Before we dive into this critical update regarding the Seahawks defense, hit that like button to help this report reach more 12s, and drop your name and city in the comments below. I want to see exactly where the Seahawks faithful are tuned in from today. I have been actively tracking a developing situation out of Renton regarding the availability of a key defensive piece for the Seattle Seahawks, and sources are now confirming the next steps in a high-stakes process. I've been told that Seahawks edge rusher Derek Hall is absolutely expected to appeal the NFL's one-game discipline that was handed down on Friday, December 19th. This is a massive development because it shifts the narrative from a confirmed absence to a pending legal battle within the league's football operations department. The initial discipline made headlines immediately, but this appeal is the variable that could change the entire complexion of Seattle's defensive front heading into Week 17. The timeline here is incredibly tight, and the stakes are much higher than just a fine. According to the information I'm gathering, this move to appeal is the only mechanism Seattle has to potentially have Hall available for their trip to face the Carolina Panthers on Sunday, December 28th. Let's look at the reality of the incident itself, because this is where the Seahawks' argument lies. The discipline stems from a sequence where Hall's foot reportedly got caught, leading to a physical interaction that the league flagged. However, the internal perspective and the case likely to be presented during the appeal is that Hall legit jumped over the opposing player to avoid stepping on him. The defense here is going to center on intent versus optics. My sources indicate that the camp surrounding Hall believes the video evidence supports a safety maneuver rather than a malicious act. If the league views this as an avoidance tactic that went wrong, rather than a deliberate strike, there is a precedent for reducing suspensions to fines. That distinction is exactly what Hall's representation will be fighting for in the coming days. Understanding the mechanics of this appeal is crucial for every Seahawks owner watching right now, because this is not a decision made by Roger Goodell or a team owner. The collective bargaining agreement dictates that appeals of on-field player discipline are assigned randomly to one of the league's current appeals officers. These officers are former players, Derek Brooks, Ramon Foster, or Jordy Nelson. These are men who have played the game, understand the speed of play, and are jointly appointed and paid by both the NFL and the NFLPA to ensure neutrality. This is significant because a former player is far more likely to understand the biomechanics of a foot getting caught in the turf than a corporate arbitrator might. The hearing officer will review the play, hear the league's case for why the suspension is warranted, and hear Hall's defense regarding the accidental nature of the contact. Once that ruling is made, it is final and binding. There is no second appeal. There is a hard calendar crunch that makes the situation even more stressful for the front office. If the discipline is upheld, Hall would not be eligible to return to the Seahawks active roster until Monday, December 29th. That is exactly one day after Seattle plays Carolina. The suspension is specifically designed to take him off the field for that Sunday game. This is why the appeal matters far beyond just the headlines or the money lost. It is about whether the Seahawks have a rotational edge rusher available for a road game that carries major postseason implications. You cannot simply replace a rotational pass rusher's productivity and familiarity with the scheme on 3 days' notice. From a roster construction standpoint, head coach Mike Macdonald is now in a position where he has to prepare 2 different game plans. I've been told that in situations like this, the coaching staff will typically practice as if the player is not available, operating with a Plan B mentality to ensure they aren't caught off guard. However, Hall isn't a French player. He has appeared in 13 games this season with 3 starts. While his stats this year show 29 tackles and 1 sack, his presence on the edge allows other impact players to rest. He is a vital part of the rotation that keeps the pass rush fresh in the fourth quarter. If he is missing, those snaps have to be absorbed by the starters, increasing the risk of fatigue or injury late in the game. We saw last season where Hall posted 8 sacks that he has the ceiling to wreck a game plan. Losing that threat against a Carolina team that will likely try to run the ball and control the clock is a tactical disadvantage that Macdonald wants to avoid at all costs. If the appeal fails and the punishment stands, it forces Seattle to adjust its edge rotation on extremely short notice. This ripples into snap distribution, pressure packages, and even special teams roles. You have to ask yourself who steps up to set the edge in the run game if Hall is deactivated. On the flip side, if the appeal succeeds, or even if the suspension is reduced to a heavy fine, the Seahawks get a clean path to keep their rotation intact heading into this critical late-season stretch. The simplest win for Seattle is a ruling that allows Hall to suit up. So, what are we watching for next? The next tell will be when the appeal hearing is actually scheduled. The league can move quickly in season, often settling these matters early in the week to give teams clarity for practice. We also need to monitor the practice reports. If Hall is taking first-team reps on Wednesday or Thursday, it signals confidence from the coaching staff. Conversely, if we see practice squad elevations or workouts with free agent edge rushers early in the week, that is a sign the team is bracing for a suspension to be upheld. The league made its initial call on Friday, but the real answer Seahawks want is pending the decision of Brooks, Foster, or Nelson. Until that binding ruling comes down, the Seahawks are in a holding pattern, hoping that the video evidence of Hall trying to avoid the player is enough to keep him on the field for Week 17. I want to hear from you immediately on this. Do you think the league is being too harsh given the video evidence showing Hall trying to avoid the player, or should the suspension stand regardless of intent?